Hello, everyone. Happy 2023 and welcome to our first episode of A Little Wiser. You may think I'm about to say, hey, Christy, but I am not. I'm about to say hello, Tara Daigle, and introduce you to Tara, our esteemed associate producer of All the Wiser. So hi, Tara.
Hey, Kimi.
So I'm excited about these mini episodes because this year we're going to mix it up a little bit. And we're, as evident today, you're going to get to know the All the Wiser team. So it is not just me producing this podcast. We have a creative team, and Tara is a huge part of that. And Erica, my producer, who some of you have met if you've been around for a while. So we're going to continue what we love to do, which is reflecting on the episodes, going behind the scenes, and I think most importantly, figuring out how we can apply these lessons and wisdom to our own lives. That is really the intention. So Christy will be chiming in, on occasion as a co-host, talking about positive psychology and application. And then Tara and Erica will be joining me as well. So it'll be me and a guest host. And today, I'm so excited that it's you, Tara.
I'm excited to be here.
How would you describe your job at All the Wiser?
I would say the associate producer role comes with, like you said, there's many facets that come with that role, I think. But I would say the one that I enjoy the most is connecting with our guests, because that is just getting to know them and hear their story and help deliver that message to our audience is really powerful. And I love what we do.
I know. And then when we get the email always comes, they're emailing you or afterwards about hearing their episode or the impact. It's your heart explodes.
Yeah, totally. And then partnering with the charity too. They're always super grateful and appreciative of the donation, and getting to connect the guest with the charity if they don't have a personal relationship. That's really heartwarming as well.
Yeah, and Tara also does our social media. She is a fangirl, the ultimate fangirl. And sometimes when I feel like I don't have any fans, we'll post something and Tara's like, yes, you go, Kimi. I'm like, yes, one person responded.
I'm always very excited, but I am a little bit biased because I think our podcast is amazing. And so is our team and all of our guests, of course.
Yes. So anyways, you do so much. And you put up with me. We have this little thing, Voxer, which is our walkie-talkies that we use. And I am best communicating orally, verbally, as opposed to writing long emails. And I have a lot of ideas. So Tara has a walkie-talkie that is constantly going off with my crazy ideas. So,
I enjoy them, and they're not always podcast related, and those are equally as fun.
Yes. So thank you for putting up with me. So anyways, you're going to get to know Tara, and she's awesome and a bright light and adorable and single. If there's anyone in the greater Denver area.
Oh, no, that's loud. You're making me blush.
So today we are welcoming you to A Little Wiser, and we are going to talk about last week's episode with Jessica on postpartum bipolar, which I had never heard of before I interviewed her. So let's just dive in. What did you think of the interview, or what questions, do you have for me?
I also had never heard of postpartum bipolar disorder. I did not know that was a diagnosis. I had only ever heard of bipolar disorder. And so the episode and listening to her experience, hearing her walk through what that experience was like for her was really eye-opening, because I'm not a mom. I don't know what postpartum life is like. So to see it through her lens just gave me insight, because I didn't even really realize that that was possible. So hearing her story and her message, I thought was really powerful and super enlightening. My question for you was, did interviewing Jessica bring up anything for you?
Yeah. I mean, I haven't talked a lot about, it's kind of crazy to me that we're just talking about on the podcast now with Jessica as a guest, because postpartum, I know so many women who have struggled and struggled deeply. And then I also, from having 3 kids and living with a mental illness, have obviously my own unique experience. But I remember somebody saying, and then I repeated it over and over again because it impacted me so much. Like when somebody's pregnant, especially for the first time, you're like, oh, congratulations, like this is the best thing you will ever do with your life, soak up every moment. All these things we say that are true, but it's true, and there's all of this emotion and pieces of it that are really difficult. And I think it's a disservice if you're, in deep connection or friendship with somebody to not be open and honest about that part. But I think women feel deeply alone in postpartum. They're sleep deprived. Their hormones are raging. People with mental health in particular may be off their medications. And I know countless people who had varying degrees of postpartum depression. And I would say the one thing they all had in common was they remained really quiet and private about it because you're ashamed. Here I am having this new baby. How lucky am I? And everyone's saying congratulations, and you're crying in the shower. It doesn't, add up. You're supposed to be on Instagram, like with cute pictures of your baby and like making a little Pinterest thing that says 6 months. And you can, feel like you're crying while you're breastfeeding. And so I'm just so glad that we're having this conversation, I guess.
Yeah, I was just going to say that even as someone in my early 30s, I don't know if motherhood is in the cards for me, not sure. But I'm so glad that now we're talking about this stuff more openly, more honestly with each other as women, and even just bringing our partners into the conversation too, to let them know, like, hey, this isn't kind of rainbows and butterflies. I am struggling. Yes, we have this amazing new life that's amazing and healthy, we can hope, but to also say that there's another layer, there's another part to that. It's not just the Instagram worthy highlight reel all the time.
Well, yeah. And so you factor in, okay, take out the romantic, beautiful notion of the fact that there's the new baby and how true and special that is. But if the other reality is, if you think about anybody, like you're sleep deprived, for months on end, you're sleeping at times just a few hours during the night. For a lot of women, you're either recovering from a major surgery while you're not sleeping and caretaking all night, or people have crazy vaginal tears. And your body is, in some cases, and for a lot of these women, your body is in physically recovering from surgery or, things that happen when you are birthing a child, and you're sleep deprived, your hormones are raging. I also think there's just the changes in your life, and also just all of the emotions and I think it's really hard to explain. And then a lot of people, when you're caring for a newborn, all of a sudden your world actually gets really small, because you're at home all the time.
Yeah.
People get lonely. That's why baby groups are such a big thing. So it's like I'm sleep deprived. I'm in physical pain. A lot of people can't breastfeed. They've got shame and guilt that that's what a mother's meant to do is feed their baby, and I'm failing. Like there's so many layers to it. Clearly, I have some thoughts on it.
Yeah, and I actually have the joy and pleasure of seeing my best friend walk through her first time as a mom, and it's just so awesome to see, but equally terrifying, if I'm being totally honest.
Is she honest with you about
totally. And she is so lucky and blessed to have like a really healthy and amazing pregnancy. Like she carried really well and delivered really well. So her experience has been overall really great. So even just learning the nuances that come with motherhood, it's like, wow, I could see it being a lot. And then to have something like postpartum bipolar disorder on top of all of the struggles and newness that comes with being a mom, and you're essentially like giving up a lot of yourself, you know? So I'm like, what's the good part again?
There is so much good and there's so much love. And of course, you look back on it with like a little bit of rose-colored glasses, but and it's not every woman's experience. There are some people who I think have a fair amount of ease with it, but I would say the majority don't. And people are afraid to talk about it because we, as a society, right, your maternal instincts, you have a baby, this brings you joy. Especially a lot of women with infertility have postpartum and then imagine that. I've done everything, and now I have this baby, and I'm a mess, and this is hard, and like it's just a really complicated issue.
Yeah, and as difficult as this topic is to talk about, sometimes I'm like, man, we are freaking amazing. Women are mothers, specifically, like super women, superheroes, all of the things. I've said it forever. I can't even wrap my head around it, but like we are freaking incredible. Like we truly are.
Yeah. I mean, just clearly badasses. But so the one thing that happened to me that I've never talked about openly because I have had shame around it, but after my second, so my middle daughter, I had like intrusive thoughts. Like I would be, I don't know, like at a restaurant and walk out in the railing and being like, what if I jumped off? And it would terrify me. And it wasn't that I was contemplating something or going to act on something, but the thought would, and I was like, oh, like what is happening?
Yeah,
like,
in those moments, would you catch yourself like almost immediately thinking about certain things like that, or was it like a buildup or?
No, it just would happen and it would be quick and it would pass, but it would leave me scared and ashamed, like, who has that thought? Why would I, And then I don't even think I was telling my therapist because I was so ashamed of these like flashes of thoughts I was having. And I told her thinking that she was going to be like, this is serious. We've got it. And she was like, oh, yeah, that's just your postpartum hormones and your mental health. Yeah, those are just intrusive thoughts. That's just part of the anxiety. And she's like, I was like, well, am I going to act on them? Do we need to have some? She's like, no, you're not. It's a intrusive thought, and it's the convergence of what's happening with your hormones and your mental health. And she literally was like, I just told her I went to Starbucks. I mean, her reaction was so, but in my head, and I don't think I've ever had those outside of postpartum in that way where they were like really vivid. That, who wants to talk about that?
Right.
When you have like a cute new baby and a snuggly outfit,
Yeah, exactly. And you're supposed to be like overjoyed and full of just grace and beauty and all of the things.
Yes, you're supposed to be planning a family photo shoot.
Right. Well, thank you for sharing that. I'm sure of course, you're not alone. So I appreciate you sharing that with us. And
no,
our
my
audience.
guess is, yeah, well, according to the reaction of my therapist, my guess is people are going to relate or not, and everyone will just think I'm crazy. So there's one of two outcomes to that sharing. Yeah. Gotta love honesty.
Yeah, of course.
So, yeah, Jessica, I know I always say this, but she is really good storyteller. Like, she could write movies. She really brought you into the moment.
Yeah, she like painted the picture. I felt like I was right there with her when her and her husband went to the hospital, and I could almost like feel her sitting in the room in her gown and them walking in and being like, "What do you think we're here for?" And she was like, "Oh, we're here for him, not for me." And just like hearing her tell that part of the story and her realization of, oh, crap, like, okay, you're the doctors, you would know.
And she's so self-aware about it. I'm self-aware about it too, but like, how lucky to have a loving, supportive husband, loving, supportive parent. You know what I mean? Like, they showed up for her. They loved her through it. They got her the help she needed. They took care of the baby, you know, and you just think about people, you know, a single mom, you know, maybe doesn't have a close-knit family or doing that on her own. And that breaks my heart.
Yeah, that's like, could be a whole other episode, I think. But the moms out here doing it alone. Sometimes out of choice, sometimes not out of choice. But either way, correct. I'm just like, holy, I can't even imagine motherhood. Definitely can't imagine motherhood alone.
Yes.
So yeah, just back to the notion that we're amazing. I think I'll just say that again and again.
We'll name the episode
that women are freaking amazing.
Yeah. So what else? We always have this talk in these mini episodes about what does society say about postpartum health. And I thought about that, and I think I've already answered it in the 10 minutes we've been talking, that we don't say a lot, which is a problem because we're ashamed. And what we do talk about in postpartum is like a very Instagram filtered reality that is, I think in many cases, 50% of the story.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know if this is just me as a person, but I'm like, I want the ugly, I want the messy, I want everything from the good to the bad and all the in between. So I love conversations like this, and I hope that, you know, we can have more of them as a whole, as a society, because I think it's important, especially for, you know, the next generation that we bring up to know like what they're up against, which is a lot.
It's like if you're getting married, like what would be better than some like wise grandma who'd been married 50 years to say like, this is what it's really about, you know?
Just is that some foreshadowing, Kimi?
Yes. Hello. We just did like a dating advertisement at the top. Now we just need a wise grandma and a fiance.
Both. I'll take both.
Both. Yeah. Hopefully they're listening. We're casting. So yeah. And I know there was another piece of it that really spoke to you about community. And so tell me about that.
Yeah. After listening to her episode and at the end, I couldn't help myself going back to just being like so glad she found a community. And I feel like that's something that resonates with me, because in anything that we walk through that's difficult or hard or recover from, whether it's mental illness or addiction or whatever it might be, I think community and support as humans is everything. But like I don't know if there's even more so of an importance as women, maybe because in postpartum specifically, you do have that like loneliness because you're alone with your baby, and there is maybe some loneliness there, but to have a community kind of wrap you up and reinforce the fact that you're not alone is sometimes the greatest reminder that we can get, and kind of speaks to, again, what our show is all about, is human connection and community, because sometimes it's everything.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. And people can be so alone in their suffering and their thoughts. And then there's hundreds, if not thousands, if not millions of people at the same time being alone in the shared experience. And I think that is what community and connection is. And, Jessica was talking about even down to like the network, like they have military postpartum group, military moms, single moms, moms living with a mental illness, moms with cancer. I mean, to be surrounded by people who say like, I get it, I'm going through it too, and to share stories and to listen to each other and resources, and like, what a gift.
Yeah, because sometimes really all we're looking for is the validation that we're not crazy. This isn't abnormal. Like, whether it's something super niche or super specific, like postpartum military moms, nobody's going to know that journey like another postpartum military mom, right? So to be able to validate each other on certain topics, and even outside of postpartum, I know we're talking a lot about that because of the episode, but even in times in my life, in my, not super young, but I still consider myself 34 years young.
You're a spring chicken.
Even I think about some of the most difficult times in my life, or the most traumatic experiences I've had, which I can gratefully say have been few, but it's been in those times where I've found and needed that woman, that support system, those people to just remind me that I'm not alone, that this isn't crazy. This isn't something that people don't ever experience. And also a reminder that you're going to get to the other side also.
Do you have any examples you're comfortable sharing?
Sure. Yeah. I was in an abusive relationship, so leaving that and really understanding what that meant after the fact. So leaving that, you kind of have to unpack so much. And in order to unpack and understand why you were in it, and then lean on other women as support to get through it and kind of stay through it, if that makes sense. Because a lot of times the support in recovery is what keeps you consistently moving forward, right? So it keeps you from not relapsing, or helps you, I should say, not relapsing if you're talking about addiction, or not going back to that abusive relationship.
Well, I'm so sorry. I'm going to remotely hug you right now. And again, so strong and amazing to walk away from that, and thank you for sharing that. How did you find your people? Like, how did you find community, and what did that mean to you?
Honestly, it was just being more open to receiving the support. Because the truth is it's anything we go through is way more common than we think it is.
Yeah.
So I think it's just being okay with sharing your story and being vulnerable enough to let people love you and accept you and walk with you through something like that. It doesn't even necessarily need to be someone that's experienced the exact thing. It's just kind of, your people that are close to you that are like, that help you help lift you up when you need it.
And don't you feel like, I would imagine when you shared that it brought, were you afraid to share it?
Gosh, well, the first time that I had shared it with someone, it was for my safety. It was like, I need to get out of this. So, and the only way to get out of this is to tell someone else so that they could know that if I were to reach out again, like they would just know, you know?
Yeah.
Telling someone is never the first step of like, save me. It's always just, I'm just putting it out there. I'm putting it on the table. I need someone to be in this with me.
Yeah.
So as hard as it comes down to, I don't have really any other choice. If I really want this, if I want my circumstance to change.
Yeah. Yeah. And that connection, right? Without it, the notion that any of us can get through really hard things by ourselves is bananas a little bit, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think we can, but that's a much harder road. And my guess is everyone you shared with, you became closer to as a result.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they become your support system. They become your, backbone when you don't have one enough. Yeah. Because people see you and love you in a way that sometimes we don't see and love ourselves. So they constantly have to be a mirror to you, or they're able to be a mirror to you and communicate to you, this is what I see. This is what you should see.
Yeah.
So that was something that was super helpful for me.
Well, I think we find ourselves in other people's story. And I think what I'm hearing you say is like, you found the fact that Jessica found a group of women who was going what she was going through, and they like carried her and supported her, and that she shared and was open. Like that spoke to you because that was your truth.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And ever since, I think I've just been a champion for women relationships and like our connection and friendship and the intimacy that we can build within those relationships to be able to support each other through the hardest things. And when we have that, it helps us in ways that I guess I just can't explain sometimes.
Thank you again for sharing. You know how much I love you.
Yeah. Yeah. Happy to share. And the last thing I'll say is, the reason that I believe in sharing our sometimes ugly, messy, not so awesome things, and you talk a lot about vulnerability and kind of like peeling away the shame and lifting the mask, is that it gives other women permission to do the same and to be able to stand in their truth and kind of own it and say, well, if she can do it, I can do it. And if she left, then I could leave. And if she got through postpartum bipolar disorder, I can too. And all I need, the first step. What is the first step? If the first step for her was this, maybe that's what I need to do.
Better together. We are
for sure
so much better together. Well, my hope with these episodes is we always can leave with like a call to action or something specific and tangible. And so as a result of your bravery in sharing this, which is the first time I've ever known this about you, is just that if you have a really hard thing, whatever that is, addiction, a relationship, abusive relationship, health, postpartum, whatever it is, you reach out to someone, reach out to another woman, reach out to somebody you trust, Google, find a community, find people to walk with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And that goes for obviously anybody listening, woman or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so grateful for you, and I'm excited for you to be a part of these conversations. And I know that people listening will quickly discover all the reasons that I am your fangirl.
Well, I love you, Kimi.
All right. So we will be back with these mini episodes. And Tara and I are actually working on some brand new things for All the Wiser, which we will be announcing in the next few weeks. So stay tuned to that. We are busy at work on our walkie-talkies bringing you new things.
Yes, we are.
All right. Thank you, Tara. Have a good day. Go snuggle with your puppy.
Oh, don't you know it. Bye, Kimi.